Well, unless you've just crawled out from under a rock, you'll no doubt be aware that West Ham's newest signing, our new striker, Danny Ings, or Annie Dings to us on this channel, has sustained an injury. Now, I say sustained an injury. Well, he must have done. Apparently, it happened in the Everton game. Didn't particularly notice it. The great irony, I've spent the last couple of days talking about how Kurt Zouma looked broken. It looked like Kurt Zouma had sustained an injury against Everton, and Kurt Zouma gets a clean bill of health, and yet somebody who didn't look injured at all has got... Look, he's gone for a scan. We don't actually know. I mean, the big worry is that it's a knee injury. The reports coming out of the club were vague, and I don't blame them for that. I would expect them to be vague, because we don't really know how bad it is. The rumour is that it's a month. Truth be known, we don't really know at the moment. The trouble is, when the information is vague, it creates a vacuum, and that vacuum gets filled with all sorts of information, fake news, misinformation, all that type of stuff. If you don't come out and make a really clear statement with a very precise rehabilitation timeline, if you're going to leave that bit of ambiguity there, then what's going to happen is that space is going to get filled with rumour. And the rumour at the moment is absolutely that it might be his ACL, and perhaps more serious than something that would take a month or so to recover. The trouble is, I mean, there's a lot of problems with this, by the way. I do accept the... in fact, I accept all points of view. There's a lot of people saying, what do you expect? He's an injury-prone player. There's other people saying, well, he's not been injured for basically the past 3 years. I think they're both right. And I think, it's somewhere in the middle. I think there's some people arguing for the fact that he's constantly injured. And then there's, some people saying, well, there's all this body of evidence. He's, last few years of no injury. Yet, as always, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And that is, you have a player who is probably susceptible to injury, but has managed to avoid it for the last 3 years. But nonetheless, we have bought somebody with an injury record. So you can't be massively surprised when he gets one. But it is just outright bad luck that he gets one in his first, well, it's not even his first full appearance, a substitute appearance against Everton. We've brought on, and the game was won by that point as well. So it is a bit of a shame. There's more than a bit of a shame. It's a complete hindrance. You get the impression that the board dug in and found this money because we were light up front. There was a story, if you remember, circulating, I don't know, 2 months ago, that the board were willing to give David Moyes some funds for a striker in January, but David Moyes thought he was fine. He was fine with Antonio and Scamacca. You remember the story, right? And the board very much leaked it, that the money's there. If you want to buy a new striker, it's there, but they almost also leaked it. But David Moyes doesn't want the striker. Well, I mean, it looks like we might need another one. And, I mean, you just have to. If the reason, you have to assume that this isn't David Moyes' long-term strategy, Danny Ings. When he's been speaking recently and he's been doing these podcasts, Diary of a CEO, and all the interviews he's done so far this season, David Moyes speaks very much about building a young and vibrant team, about breaking the old guard up and bringing in these new young players. So you have to assume that Danny Ings at the moment was not part of the plan. This was not part of the long-term vision, or even the immediate vision, the vision now, which was break up that old team and put a new team into place with younger players. So if you accept that Danny Ings wasn't part of the long-term vision, then you would have to concede that he's been brought in to try and save us from relegation. If that is the case, and I do believe that to be so, then I'm not saying he can't, but yeah, you also have to basically conclude that we look like we needed to bring somebody else in. If that's the case, Danny Ings is no longer available. We still need to bring someone else in. Simple as that. The words, I was going to say the word on the street. The word on the street. I'm nowhere near cool enough to know what the word on the street is. Let's get that straight. The rumours doing the rounds, let's put it that way, is that FC Lorient, sound like honky hot. It wasn't. I wasn't doing some generic. I wasn't taking a mickey out of French people, basically. But it's FC Lorient. Their striker, who is Terem Moffi, Nigerian striker, second highest goal scorer this season in Ligue 1. The French league. League One, basically, in French. But you're glad that you don't even need Google Translate now, do you? Who needs subtitles? He's, well, second top scorer in the league. What more needs to be said? I've had a little look, so you don't have to. In fact, I looked last week. We've been linked to him for quite some time. To cut a long and tenuous, drawn-out story very, very short, we bid 20 million plus £5 million in add-ons. Apparently, Lorient were accepting that. They thought that was a decent one. And even though we had signed Annie Dings, it did appear that we were still looking to bring this guy in. So that's why I had a look at him. The rumours been doing the rounds for a couple of weeks now. Left-footed, Nigerian striker, good size. I keep saying good size. Depends what you want. A good size, that's good size. What's a good size? Well, if you want someone to crawl through a small hole, he's probably not a good size. If you want someone that can probably, sort of be relatively dominant in the air, then he probably is. He's 6'1", 6'2". He's quick, left-footed. Looks like a finisher. I mean, really is, a fox in the box. His ball control is reasonably good as well. Clearly, he's got an eye for goal. I do believe, I said that, it's about a week or two since my memory, I've looked at so many footballs, memory can go within that time. I think there were some penalties there or whatever. But you know what? Looks like a good striker, as to be said. Anyone at the moment will do. Let's be perfectly frank here. It was good to see Antonio getting back to getting back to fitness and looking like a dangerous player. I don't think Antonio looked dangerous in recent months, let's put it that way. So I think that was good for there, but it's not enough. Skamaka's injured. Now Ings is injured. Bowen coming back to form is going to be massively important. 2 goals from him. But it's not enough. Look, David Moyes is not going to use anyone. It doesn't matter how well the under-18s play, and they are doing amazingly well. Nobody's getting in. Doesn't matter how well Mubama plays for the under-21s. He's not going to feature. So we're going to have to get another striker in. Now, whether that's a loan or bring in someone like Terem Moffi, I don't know. I don't know. They have to do it. I noticed a couple of people talking about financial fair play. Look, Everton were in a lot of... They've sacked Lampard, by the way, just in case you don't know. You probably don't. Unsurprising, really. I do wonder if, as I said in yesterday's video, when I was having a chat with my old man, I do wonder if they were waiting around for David Moyes. As soon as it became clear that West Ham weren't going to sack David Moyes, they get rid of Frank Lampard. And I do think you have to not concern yourself too much with this financial fair play at the moment. Everton were in this predicament, and they got to a point, and they got a warning, and the warning was, you're going to be in breach of financial fair play, so that's why they sold Richarlison, just to bring in a cash injection for that point. If we carry on going like we're going, will we breach financial fair play? Yes. But I think it's pretty much an open secret, isn't it, really, that Declan Rice is going to leave at the end of the season. So I wouldn't be so bothered about spending it. If we have to spend some of next season's money now to stay in the Premier League, then we better make sure we do it. And if, look, this, Terem Moffi, could be good, bad or indifferent. He looks okay on clips, but what do clips show you? It's hard to tell, really, isn't it? What I would say is if he is one of the guys that the scouting department have identified as a long-term player for West Ham, and actually we were going to sign him next season anyway, then just go and do it. If he's just someone that's been scribbled down on the back of a Rice Krispies packet or something like that in the last couple of weeks and there's been no scouting done, then try and work out a loan deal. For players like that, but I still think even if we can't get him, we can't get somebody that we've extensively scouted over the last periods, whenever it might have been, and what we do need is an emergency player in, then go and get a loan player in. It's easy to say, and people will say, look, I'm not going to pretend to have an encyclopedic knowledge of the world game, the European game, or anything else, but there will be strikers around who are available on loan. There really will be, and we've just got to go and get it, because I think some striker is better than no striker, and at the moment it's very much looking like no striker. It'll be Antonio. I mean, do we really want to... Can we bank on Antonio being fit for the next 4 or 5 games, which is what it probably needs in order for Skamaka to get back to fitness? Recent history would suggest over the last season or two that actually we probably can. Antonio probably can be fit for the next 5 or 6 games. But what's that mean? Recent history? Well, nothing. Because recent history told us that Danny Ings would be fine for the next 4 or 5 games. And you know what? He ain't. And much like Danny Ings, Mikel Antonio may well have had a decent run with injury in the last couple of seasons or whatever. But actually, historically, he does get injury. So it wouldn't be any massive surprise, would it? Just back on the Danny Ings injury, it's typical West Ham. I mean, it does feel like we're cursed, doesn't it? It's rotten bad luck, and I've read various things, and some people feel sorry for Moyes, and I feel sorry for everyone, all of us. West Ham as a whole, I really do. I do feel a bit sorry for Moyes. If he was going to hang his hat and it was going to be Danny Ings going to save his job, well, that might not happen now. I feel sorry for us as fans. We were all excited about it. We're not going to get to see him. We're less likely to win games now. Regardless of whether Danny Ings was going to start or not, he would have been a really good squad player. He still might, by the way. I do not rule out Danny Ings scoring the winner in the Conference League final. Imagine that. There we go. So it doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player for us, but here and now, it is disappointing. It's disappointing for people, the people that pushed the deal through, be it Rob Newman or the board or anyone else. Just the whole club, it's just disappointing. I think the thing to bear in mind here, it's probably as disappointing for Danny Ings as it is for anyone else. I mean, we're all sat here as West Ham fans. The first thing I thought when I heard it was, that's just typical. It's just absolutely typical. I bet Danny Ings is sat there thinking, well, he's definitely sat there. He's not stood there, is he, if he's got a bad leg? He's probably sat there thinking, this is typical. Absolutely typical. How bad is my luck? Absolutely rotten luck from him, really. Bit gutting. But you know what? We can either sit here sort of licking our wounds, feeling sorry for ourselves as a club, not you and I, we can't do anything about it, or we could get back out there and then bring the squad up to decent numbers. As I say, we can't worry about financial fair play. The other thing I was hearing people saying, well, we can't bring somebody in because of the squad numbers. You've got to be registered, the amount of players that you can register for the conference. You can't worry about that. You cannot worry about that. If we get to a point where everybody's fit, everybody is fit, and then what we've got to do is leave somebody out of the whatever it is, the 25-man squad or whatever you've got to submit for to UEFA. Great. It means everyone's fit and someone has to miss out. Boo-hoo. But at least everybody's fit. Again, the financial fair play. If it means next season we're in the Premier League and we have to cut our cloth because of financial fair play, then good. Good, because it means we're in the Premier League. If we're down the Championship, let's be fair, we ain't got to worry about financial fair play rules, have we? So I wouldn't worry about that stuff. Let's just get a player in, get it done, and then just try and mitigate the loss of Danny Ings. So let's be fair, he's not done anything for West Ham yet. So we're basically back to where we were with it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below.